If you look online these days, everybody seems to be a consultant or a coach. And this week, I'm very lucky to be able to be talking to Professor Gary Martin, who's a very visible commentator on social issues and workplace issues. Gary, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Rob. Thanks for including me in the series.
And Gary Martin, if you don't know Gary, you should follow him on LinkedIn. He's the CEO of the Australian Institute of Management in Western Australia. And the topic, what's brought this about, this big change where everybody seems to be on the gig economy, consulting and coaching? That's the question for this week. So Gary, I know you've got some great views and interesting views to share with us on this. It really does seem like everybody's a coach or a consultant these days. What's changed in recent years?
Well, I think we've seen a lot more consultants and coaches and so on, experts, influencers, whatever you'd like to call this group of people, because they themselves have looked for a more flexible approach to their working lives or to their lives in general. So we've seen people get on the bandwagon and basically do their own thing. Now, if we tie that then with the rise of social media, a lot of people would have had a lot of problems trying to break through to the business community to offer their services. But with social media now being digested by almost everyone to a larger extent for some, obviously, people who have taken up a coach role or a consultant role can now have their messages heard by a lot more people than say taking out a whole page advertisement in a magazine or something like that, which might have been a more costly proposition. So social media has actually fueled people's if you like, presence and availability, and that's been sat alongside the whole rise of people becoming consultants for their own reasons, and that is to embrace a more flexible lifestyle.
So do you think there's a danger that someone can maybe have a little bit of experience of a particular aspect, have an interest in it, and then suddenly they're hanging up their sign and saying, I'm a coach in this, I'm a consultant in this? Do we have to be a little bit cautious as buyers of these services?
Yeah, look, I think you do. I think if you're going to spend money, it's all well and good to see an influencer online and like their message. It's another thing to spend, hundreds of dollars with consultants without checking some of their background and credentials. When we think about a consultant, we think about someone who's got authoritative knowledge in a particular area or comprehensive knowledge in a particular area. And it really sounds nice, but you have to think about how that translates online. And with so much content being created across social media platforms, average reader is probably swamped with different people offering different services. And it's really worthwhile delving into that a little bit more and looking to see what sits behind some of the messages that people are actually sharing. So, I think if you were to do something, if you're going to spend money with a consultant, one of the things you might do is just do a Google search on them to start off with, to see where they've come from, what they've been doing. If they provide facts and figures, what's the source of those facts and figures? That's really quite revealing sometimes. It's important to know who the person actually was learning from or where they learned all the things that they know about a particular area. It's also important to know how they keep up to date, so that whether that the knowledge, the experience and so on they're providing you with is current. And also it's about their network as well. Who are they in touch with? Who are they speaking to, as I said, to keep them up to date? I think when we look, put another way, when we look to hire a consultant or an influencer, an expert of any sort, who we've sourced on social media, we need to ask what's their knowledge base, what's their experience, and how do they communicate it? They're three things that we might do just to come to grips with where they've come from, if you like.
Yeah, that's really sound advice. And just as you were saying that, I was thinking, do we need to be cautious of things like the follower count? You know, there are gurus out there with 1 million followers on LinkedIn. That itself doesn't necessarily mean they're a credible coach or consultant, does it? It means they're writing some interesting stuff that people like.
Yeah, I think that's important.
The danger they're more entertainers.
Yeah, I think you have to be wary of the number of followers. You know, it's quite often a good indication that people do like the sorts of things they talk about, that a particular person talks about, but doesn't necessarily translate. Talking about stuff doesn't translate to actually helping an individual necessarily. We all know that people can be very good at talking things up, but when it comes to the crunch, drilling down to help an individual, there's so much more important. I would think, for example, that you need to look at someone, just because they're a follower, as I said, it's a good thing, but how do they teach and inspire other people? Have they had that experience? Have they actually had that experience of coaching people? Does their content that they produce attract followers, other followers with similar expertise? That's always a good sign when you see other people who are known for their expertise in an area, weigh in and comment on someone's content. Are they making a contribution to the research in the area? Are they making a contribution to the practice in an area? And have they got any formal qualifications? Because sometimes that helps as well. Just to make that sort of judgment. Following alone is a flawed approach. If you go for someone because they've got, thousands of followers, it's a flawed approach. Look at their credentials, as I said before, behind. And I think another way to look at it is some people are very good at having internal experience. Look for people that have community expertise, so that they have some experience in the community for providing advice. Are they a market authority? So are they top of their game? Because those people then sometimes can charge you a lot more, and it might be better money spent even if it is more. But also look to see if they're an international expert, because that also helps. But Rob, to go back to the point, just followers alone doesn't mean an enormous amount. It's one part of that jigsaw puzzle, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Professor Gary Martin, thank you for your observations on that. And I think there's some great tips there for people who are maybe existing coaches and consultants or thinking of embarking on those careers. So if you've enjoyed this discussion, do comment down below. Are you starting out a career in coaching and consulting? Have you been doing it a while? What are your thoughts about the credibility of those out there? So thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.